Wow, that was a great start to our No Cop Out online event. That is a curtain raiser to COP27, which is scheduled to begin this coming Monday. That was our theme song, and it captures the essence of child earth activists globally who invite their peers and their adults to stand up and speak out in support of their mother earth and seek strong policies, actions, and budgets for our common home. Hi everyone, welcome to our No Cop Out event. We are certain will be engaging, impactful, and most importantly, purposeful. We have gathered together not just for another Zoom meet, but to a forum where our voices and shared chats and thoughts will be input into a global document that will recognize the rights of our children of today, but those of our grandchildren and our great grandchildren. My name is Ram. I was the former president of the National Inclusive Children's Parliament, and I was the nominee for International Peace Prize 2019, alongside Greta Thunberg and Divina Malao and other child activists. I've been part of Nine is Mine since I was just 7 years old. I'm delighted to be your host for this evening.
Welcome everyone. My name is Sandhya. I am a former Prime Minister of my local children's parliament. I was honored with the opportunity to represent India's children at the United Nations General Assembly 2020, sharing about the impact of COVID pandemic on the mental health of children and the rise in child marriage and domestic violence. I even did a TED Talk at the age of 17. It's an honor to be your co-host for this morning. I'm excited to be here because I believe that this event can make a difference to our world, and I have a significant part to play in this.
Yes, Sandhya, you have a significant part. I requested you please pay attention to some of our safeguarding announcements. As I told you, Ima ma'am is our child protection officer. For any queries on child protection, you can write to ma'am at pratyek@pratyek.org.in. Please don't share any of your personal information like your contact number, social media handles, or any other kind of personal information. Please make sure that your chats focus on environmental issues and are child friendly and child appropriate. Please use respectful language. Nine is Mine is an advocacy initiative of, for, and by the children. The Nine is Mine campaign calls for 9% of the gross domestic product to be committed to health and education. 6% goes for our education and 3% for health, as promised by the Government of India in 2004. Incidentally, it would be lovely if you can type in CCC for clap, clap, clap for all young campaigners, because last year we achieved milestone in our campaigning with the Government of India, putting both our education and health budget demands into former health and education policies. With that, over 4 million US dollars will be invested into children's development.
And what better way to introduce Nine is Mine and underline the same by then getting our young people themselves to organize and design their own programs and evaluate it. For our No Cop Out event, we have young people who are experts in our own right as child pro activists helped us in designing and coordinating this event.
I'm the convener of No Cop Out 27. Adiba is the Prime Minister of Yash Children's Parliament. Arna is the founder of Plastic Shunya Movement, youngest recipient of Mahila Vashish Ratna Samman. Aravir is a young author who wrote a book called Christmas on Mars. Karthik, who is a child delegate at General Comment 26. Naman is the founder of Hari Koshish and a young campaigner at the Save the Children India. Saili, a budding microbiologist. Sheetal is a zero hunger mentor. Himanshu is a circus art trainer and earth rights activist. Tejaswini, who is the Prime Minister of National Inclusive Children's Parliament. Ruksar, President of National Inclusive Children's Parliament. Sandhya, she was a young speaker at the United Nations General Assembly 2020. Zosha was one of the youngest speaker at TEDx Pune. Our tagline for this event, for this 27 for 26, that looks like some strange date in the future. 27 is obviously COP27, but what does 26 stands for? 26 emphasis on General Comment 26, which is an UN document that will reinforce the rights of children by underlining their ecological rights. So we would like to ensure as young people that COP27 and every other global upcoming dialogue will underline the importance of our ecological rights towards a strong UN General Comment 26. Before we move on with the event, shall we take a minute to connect with the pulse of our Mother Earth? I invite you to reclaim your place like a child within the womb of our Mother Earth as IT leads into silence and stillness.
Gus Speth, author and the top US advisor on climate change, said, I used to think the top environmental problems were biodiversity, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. I thought 30 years of good science could address these problems. I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, and apathy. And to deal with these, we need a cultural and spiritual transformation. And we scientists don't know how to do that. Therefore, he invited us to bring each COP session with a moment of silence to focus on the highest and the most possible outcome of the discussion at hand. I invite you to close your eyes and gently breathe. Your breath reminds you of your vital connections to the Earth's forest, oceans, and soils that create the air you breathe. Envision the highest and the most possible outcomes of your deliberations for the people and the planet. A peaceful and equitable, healthy, sustainable, and inclusive world. A happy world. Lean into your vision. Let it infuse you with clarity, determination, and love. Today, let your decisions, actions, and choices be guided by your vision of the world as we know that it can be. Envision this vision, this dream, evolve this vision and dream, act upon this vision, and achieve it. I invite you to gently open your eyes and bring this connection with our Mother Earth into our deliberations today. Over to you, Ram.
Had you ever felt like addressing the climate crisis and didn't know where to begin? Today, we give you an opportunity to engage with an advocacy movement of global and historic proportions. We are all gathered here for a very important event, which we have entitled as No Cop Out. We all know COP27 is around the corner. Actually, none of us can cope out from committing to reversing climate change and creating a greener, cleaner earth for the generations that will come. We have no choice but to deliver. Coping out is not an option, and hence we say no cop out. I request all of you to pay attention to each input and share, and to give us your recommendations for a stronger policy on ecological rights for us children. At the end, we'll be holding a quiz, and there are prizes for the winners. So pay attention and write down detailed notes to the input of our speakers, which Naman will use to design the post-event quiz. Don't forget your pencil and paper.
I re-echo with what Ram said and remind you that we have gathered here for a significant purpose, creating a historical policy document that brings change to the global environment. We request you to give us your feedback on our evolving Charter of Demands, on ecological rights of children. We request you to keep a pen and paper ready to jot down your thoughts and ideas and add it to our recommendations in the chat box, which we'll be recording and reviewing in order to add those in the Charter of Demands in the light of your sharings.
COP stands for Conference of Parties, that is, conference of all the countries who have signed the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The purpose of COP27 is to bring governments together to accelerate the global efforts to address climate change. Sandhya, we cannot hear you.
I'm so sorry, just give me a moment, please.
Sure, Sandhya. Till Sandhya is getting ready with her part, I would like to remind you to please review our recommendations written on our Green Advocacy Framework report, and it's a summary executive report. And all of you who are supposed to be in the panelist list and are on the attendees list, please raise your hand from the attendees list. You will be promoted to the panelist list. Thank you so much.
So now I will present to you the 10 ecological asks recommended by 3,500 children from India and validated by the National Child Ministers of the National Inclusive Children's Parliament. I will represent Zosha, who is currently in a weak network coverage area of her village and who was one of the chief collators of this charter. We call it Add Vocal Rights, meaning adolescent voices seeking ecological rights of children. This charter is the core of this program, and we would like all of you, both the COP27 delegates and all the attendees, to actively engage with these 10 asks and help us to fine-tune the same by actively writing your comments in the chat box. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the first recommendation. Can we move on? Next slide, please. Next. Yes. First, my green right to holistic green education. Children want the government to design a school curriculum that focuses on giving scientific and adequate information on climate change. It should include providing children with practical knowledge, experiences, skills, and training to address these climate change and advocate for climate action. Next. Second, my green right to adequate green information. Children demand from the government that they provide child-specific data which can be easily accessible and understood. They should give their right to information no matter what. 3. My green right to genuine expression and participation. It is very important for the children's voices to be heard, especially on the environmental issues. Therefore, the government should provide child-friendly platforms for meaningful participation of children in decision making. They are environmental defenders and should be protected from any form of threat or attack. 4. My green right to recover and complain. Children and families who suffer from natural disaster, climate change, or any harmful development projects must be provided with immediate relief, rehabilitation, and compensation. They should be able to freely complain regarding the same. 5. My green right to protection when vulnerable. Children coming from vulnerable communities, such as local, rural, Dalit, Adivasis, with disability, etc., must get the opportunity to share their opinions and stories of impact of climate change on vulnerable communities, which can be easily accessible to them. 6. My green right to the best green laws and standards. Government must make laws that honor human rights, earth rights, and child rights. It should also be reflected in national consultations. 7. My green right to expect good green governance. National and international sustainable policies must be designed using UNCRC as a guideline. All the government should proactively engage in General Comment 26. 8. My green right to green child-specific risk and impact assessment. Development projects must be evaluated and assessed based on how much negative or positive impact it has on children. 9. My green right to corporate earth responsibility. It is must for the government to strictly monitor business and companies and must take action against those violating environmental rights and laws. 10. Last but not the least, my green right reflected in green budgets and green policies. Government must allocate a budget for ecological rights of children and ensure that they are reflected in national policies. Thank you.
I would like to remind you to please review our recommendations written in our Graded Vocal Framework report and its executive summary report to give us your own recommendation towards strengthening the same. The links are available in the chat box. The COP27 conference, as we have gathered by now, will take place from 6 to 18 November 2022 in Egypt. We have organized this session where all of us can give our ideas and recommendations to the delegates present here so that they can take it to COP27 and make our voices heard. Isn't that a smart way to get ourselves children heard and recognized in Egypt, even if we children are not adequately seen around the discerning tables at Egypt? Let us watch a video which will help us understand COP27.
Let's get together. Good afternoon, everybody. Let's get together. Welcome to COP. Let's get together.
The Conference of Parties, otherwise known as COP, is the United Nations Climate Change Conference. COP takes place annually, and this will be the 27th edition since it began. These conferences bring together people in power, where they pledge the changes they will make to reduce their impact on climate change.
Leaders must not fail.
Now more than ever.
Because time has quite literally run out.
The main aim is to keep the rate of climate change to 1.5 degrees.
It's now or never. To state the obvious.
There needs to be a collective change on a global scale to reach this goal.
That's no small task.
Let's get together.
COP27 is being held in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, and is taking place this coming November.
It can and it must mark the beginning.
Past speakers include Sir David Attenborough, Barack Obama, Emmanuel Macron, Prince Charles, and many others.
Your Royal Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen.
It's time we all start gathering round. Let's get together.
If you want to go far, go together.
Because climate change is man-made.
To join us at the heart of COP27, live from Sharm el-Sheikh, like and subscribe to One World Network.
Like family. 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 Like family
may now call upon Thomas Jones from UK to introduce himself and to introduce herself and share the experience at COP26.
Hi, can you all hear me okay? Anyone want to say, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can
Yes,
hear
sir,
you.
you are audible.
Thank you. Yes, so my name's Tom Jones. Me and my best friend Harvey, we were part of the Edmund Rice Global Network delegation to COP26 last year. So I am a lower sixth form student in an Edmund Rice school over in England. So last year we took part in a group of us, I think there was about 8 of us that went to COP26 in Glasgow. So it wasn't a far journey for us. We went to the green zone mainly over in COP26, where we heard from panelists from Latin America and countries where climate change was hitting the most and where it was actually being visible. So I think it was really important for us and for other people, young people, to be able to see people that were being affected by it physically and not just hearing about it. So because obviously we are from England, most of us where the climate change isn't particularly as visible as it is in other countries. So I think it was really important for us to see that and hear that. And I think that's what, when writing statements for world leaders, it's important to express how you are being affected and the main challenges that you're facing, because the world leaders aren't facing them. They're not going through the daily struggles that many young people are going through. So that was one thing that we were really focusing on when we went to COP26, was to listen to them, the young people putting forward what they were struggling through daily, and really take that on. So we went to COP26 and we went there for the day. We got the train there and the train back. It was a very long day. And we went into the panels, and we also went into radio discussions with people from Germany, people from Spain, and even people from India, where students were going through experiencing floods, and they were major victims of heat extreme, which was really, really difficult for us to see and for us to listen to, as we weren't experiencing that daily. So that's something that is really important, especially for us and for other people in other countries to be able to hear. So I was really, really excited when I got to see the statement and the summary that was sent over of the statement you guys have all written, because it expressed not only what you wanted to happen and what you needed to happen to make a change and for us to have a planet in the future, but how it linked into your ecological rights. And I think that's really important for world leaders and those in power to hear that, you know, it's not just all for nothing, and we're not just doing it to be nuisances or to wind them up. We're doing it because it's what we all have a passion in. It's what we need to do to have a strong planet for the future generations. It's not all about us. It's not all about, you know, us being able to have a nice life. It's making sure that there's a planet there for the generations to come. So when we did go to COP26, we had jumpers made for us, and on the back it said, "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children," which I think is a really nice quote that the director of Edmund Rice actually got for us. She found it and put it on the back of our jumpers just so people around COP26 could see that. And I think it's a really important, strong message for us to showcase to all the young people that they do have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. It must be very early for you there, right?
Yeah, it's
but
fine.
Still you shine. Thank you so much. We got to know that you got a recognition from your government. Would you like to tell the participants and us over here what it was all about?
Yes, so we took part in a statement that we'd all written and we took it with us. And we were basically talking about, we wanted a widespread, because obviously our Edmund Rice network isn't just in England, it is global. We wanted to show them and write a statement based on the fact that from each individual place that was suffering. So for example, we had people from India in our network that were writing about how they were experiencing and being victims of floods. So we did get that, and we did get a reply and a response, a certificate saying that they were being listened to and the action was being taken. So we are Anne Nichols, who I think you heard from yesterday, who came on, luckily enough, has all the information on what the full response was from the government and the delegations. And I think it was really important to see that response from the leaders. We were told that we were being listened to. We were told that the action was being taken in form of our England statement and response. So they were taking that on board within their response to COP26 last year. And they actually included some of our points in there about what we think should happen in terms of our ecological rights being added into that statement. So such as, obviously, as I can see here, you've done the exact same as what we were hoping to do, which is linking in points such as I can see here, environmental education, and linking that in with the ecological rights. So we talked about how talking and educating is so important to saving our planet, but it can't be all we do. Everyone needs to be educated, but we need to have concrete action and realistic plans that are genuinely going to help people. So seeing that response from our government and from our world leaders was really nice to see that we did have a voice as young people in our society.
Wow, this is really very inspiring. Keep it up, and thank you so much for sharing about this with us. And also, like, Pratik is in network of Edmund Rice International as well. So happy about that.
No, we're just so happy to be able to spread our network and to be able to partner up with other organisations so that more young people are being heard. It's all about, it's so important, no matter what organisation, no matter what network you're part of, it's just being young people and making sure that whatever your passion is in or whatever you've got your opinions on, that you're being able to voice that and you've got a platform to be able to talk to other people and spread your message. And I think with Edmund Rice International and with Pratt, and I think that's really important that young people are being given that platform.
Yeah, completely resonate with that. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom. It was nice hearing. Thank you so much. So now you all may be thinking about the tagline for our events, which is 27 for 26. Obviously, 27 stands for COP27. But what does 26 stands for? My co-host will tell you what General Comment 26 is.
The UN Committee on the Rights of the Child is creating a general comment on child rights, children's rights, and the environment with a special focus on climate change. They call it General Comment number 26, which will give authoritative guidance on how children's rights are impacted by the environmental crisis and what governments must do to uphold these rights.
Most importantly, it is being shaped by children and young people ourselves, especially from communities most impacted by the environmental crisis. What important to note is that our very own Karthik Verma, our young earth activist from the 90s Man campaign from Uttar Pradesh in India, will be going to Geneva and representing India's children and those from Global South during the General Comment 26 final process in June 2023. I request him to give us some insights into the process and present the first ground report on children's inputs into the General Comment 26.
Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening from wherever you are joining. So I am Karthik Verma and I am here to talk about General Comment 26. What is it all about? So before moving forward, let's see a small video which will give you a short idea that why there was need of General Comment 26 and why we are really talking about this. So next slide, please. Yeah. This small video have given us idea that what is Article 12 of the UNCRC Charter and why we are really talking, because we have right to speak, we have right to share our opinion. And now let's see one more video, which is the statement from the chair of UNCRC, Ms. Mikiko, that what she says about General Comment 26.
Hello everyone, I'm Mikiko Tani, Chair of the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child. And I'd like to make an important announcement. The Committee on the Rights of the Child has decided to deepen its focus on the environment and climate change. Over the coming months, a team of committee members will consult with outside experts, interested parties, and especially hundreds of children to produce what is called a general comment on child rights, the environment, and climate change. The general comment will provide authoritative guidance to the governments of the 196 countries that have ratified the Convention on the Rights of the Child on what they must do to uphold children's rights to a safe and healthy environment. This will serve as an impetus for the global level change and a powerful tool for children and young people. So stay tuned. Finally, let me add in no uncertain terms that even as we prepare this general comment, we will continue to urge the governments to listen to children and young people's view.
This video has given a background about General Comment 26, what impact it can have on the world, and why it is required. So as the previous video you have seen about Article 12, that children's voices must be included in entire process of policy making which affects us. But again, let's talk about General Comment 26, that what exactly it is. So next slide. So General Comment 26 is the official United Nations authoritative guidance to 196 countries who have ratified UNCRC Charter. This guidance will provide an outline that how government must uphold the ecological rights of children, how government can ensure a healthy and safer environment to us. In this process of General Comment 26, we have, next slide please. We have an exciting children advisory team, and in the first time in the history of General Comment 26, children's voice are included. So we are 13 young children across the world who are helping the committee to include the voices of children. So I'm happy to be one of them. Next slide. So in the very beginning of General Comment 26, we were talking that how we can include the voices of children, and we came with a consultation. So the first round of consultation, which we say children and young people's consultation, which was started from 31st of March and ended on 30th June 2022. And in this short period of time, we have received about 7,416 responses from 103 countries. So this number may be small, but this number cannot represent the opinion of the whole world, which is about 2.2 billion population, consisting 30% of world population. And according to the reports which we have, about half the population, children population, is vulnerable. But yet this is giving us outline that what we think about the world and the policy. As you can see, about 88% children think that their life have been affected due to environmental change and climate change. And only 41% can secure help when it is required. So we are here to ask you to share your opinion, your voices, your experiences, that what do you think about that how government must work and uphold our rights. So it is the most important, and I usually say that General Comment 26 can be the last hope, one of the last hope if we are not acting on the major policies of today. So again, thank you Prateek for having me in this wonderful event. So hope that we'll be working on the entire forum and make a better General Comment 26. Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik, for sharing this with us. And on behalf of all present here, we wish you all the very best for this important mission. We have had a good number of participants yesterday as well as today, but there are many young people who have joined us using a single device, who might not have the access to device. I would like to thank you all for joining us. We have had a good number of participation yesterday as well as today, but there are many young people who have joined us using a single device, who might not have access to device. I would like to thank all of you who took this trouble for this precious event. Now I would like to hand over my mic to Ruksar, who is the president of National Inclusive Children's Parliament, to speak on behalf of Tejaswini. Tejaswini is the current Prime Minister of National Inclusive Children's Parliament, and who seeks to influence with this Green Charter.
Thank you, Ram, for inviting me. We may not be voters, but if vote is an acronym for the voice of empowerment, then we choose to be that and the voice of earth, the voice of endangered species, the voice of excluded children. We will vote with our voices, we will vote with our feet.
Thank you, Ruksar. I wish you and your Council of Child Ministers all the very best as you seek to make real these rights for children, if not all the members of the Earth community.
So now, there are many global delegates who will be going to COP27. They are now bringing Egypt to you. They will share briefly on these 3 questions. What is focused area of intervention at COP27? 1. Second, what outcomes do they expect from COP27 and beyond? 3. And most importantly, what are their observations and recommendations on the emerging Children's Charter of their ecological rights?
May I request Naman Sonpa to chair this segment of the program. The able assistance of our curious young budding environmentalist, Arna Arvi Kochar, who is the author of Christmas and More book.
Thank you so much, Ram. Namaste, everyone. I'm Naman Sonpar, a 9th grade student, the founder of Hari Koshish, and a young campaigner at Save the Children India. I'm a recipient of the Changemakers Award 2019-2020 by the Times of India and won the Most Promising Candidate Award under the Pro Activist of the Earth category in the Just Right Kids Awards by Pratyek Mine. I've been a part of numerous events with India and especially with organizations like STC India, MASH Project, Green Dream Foundation, and Pratyek. I, along with my team, have also organized numerous cleanups and volunteers with the Child Champions of Delhi and organized many youth advocacy workshops in various schools, including my own school, the Sri Ram Millennium School, Noida, and others like the Shiv Natak University, St. Columba's Boys School, and many more. I was also a part of the youth advocacy workshops and UNICEF Pratyek mentorship program, wherein I mentored a UNICEF-sponsored child on climate change and inequalities, COP26, water sanitation and hygiene, also known as WASH, and waste management. I would now like to invite Aryavir. Aryavir, I request you to kindly introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. This is Arivir Kochar. I'm one of your anchors today, and I should warn you to watch out for some climate change puns as I introduce myself to you all today. Now, before we take off discussing this hottest topic of the century, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself as an icebreaker. Firstly, you should know that I am an aspiring gamer. Super Mario Brothers games are my favorite video games. Chess is my life. I could play chess all day long if my mom would let me. But think twice before challenging me to a game. Things may get pretty heated up. I love ice cream so much that I'm thinking of becoming an ice cream seller when I grow up. Phew! I got carried away talking about myself. I better cool down. I must warn you not to let my innocent little face deceive you. I'm an extremely strict timekeeper and I'm very swift with my belt. At the 2.5-minute mark, I will give you a little tinkle. At 3 minutes, it'll get a little louder. And if you go beyond that, I have permission to ring the bell as much and as loud as I want. So watch out.
Thank you, Aryavir, for those wonderful rules. We'll now be continuing with our session for today, and I must tell you all, a very exciting panel awaits. So stay tuned till the end. Our first speaker is Ms. Kalyani Raj from India, who on COP26 will be talking about showcasing gender justice climate solutions for an inclusive global stockade. Over to you, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you. Namaskar to all, and good morning, good afternoon. Thank you, Pratik team, for inviting me to this event. From what I've heard so far, I think you have covered it all, and very well and very comprehensively, particularly with a very long-term view. By the way, Aryavir, from what I heard from you, I'm a bit scared, so I will try to maintain my time. Okay. All right. From my side, I can only say, yes, we are in complete solidarity and would try to pitch in as much as we can. Having said that, as I have been asked to deliberate on 3 key points, first, focus area of my organization vis-a-vis COP27. I was just going through your clever Briggs and the 10 ecological rights, which was just presented. So let me tell you, most of my organizations run parallel. Right to education, equal participation, sufficient information, inclusive climate risk assessment are all included in our ask as well. And this I am also telling from the Women and Gender constituency of UNFCCC, because I am also one of the facilitators in the constituency. So I think our demands go parallel. However, what we have been doing is also, in my organization, we have also been internalizing, these cross-cutting issues in our programs across India through our branches. That is at the implementation level. Number 2, what we seek as outcome from COP27 and beyond. Well, couple of things. Let me just give you briefly. Most important, an inclusive plan and policies and agreements, because particularly in view of the ongoing pandemic and the ways in which it has enhanced gender inequalities, recognizing the accelerated climate impacts faced by frontline communities and the most vulnerable, and of course to protect ecosystem integrity. We call, I think, all the parties to ensure active participation of women, youth, women across all sectors of society, youth, adolescent, children, and all, for all the climate action plans. Number two, we also think we should end support of false and high risk solutions, which are sort of being packaged in green technologies, and we have to sort of work towards healthy ecosystem, and again through a transformative and sort of human right based community driven climate actions. Three, most important, finance. Yes, we need to ensure that there is delivery on finance as a matter of climate, social, and gender justice. Parties should also commit, we feel that to financial and political investment to strengthen education system in terms of.
Sorry, your time is up.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kalyani ma'am. Ma'am, if you would like to take 10 seconds to wrap up your speech, that will be fine.
To wrap up, I would just say I think I know the way climate risks are enhancing, and the youth and adolescent who are going to live for longer time compared to us, they are more at risk. And we as one of the stakeholders are always with you, and all our issues are cross-cutting, and we will stand in solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure to hear you today. You know, when you talk about inclusivity and climate action, I think it's a very, very important aspect. Because since climate change has gotten from local to global, it's also important for climate action to go from local to global. I mean, after all, Earth rights are child rights, and Earth rights are human rights. It's our right to live in a safe environment, to live in an environment which respects our needs, and for us to be humans with values that respect the needs of Mother Earth. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Peters Omorakwan from United Kingdom. He's going to be speaking on building healthy and resilient communities to Africa to withstand the climate crisis. Sir, if you are in the attendees list, could you please raise your hand so we can promote you as panelist? It appears Sir is not able to join us today, so we'll move on to the next speaker. That is Mr. Stephen Poffrey from France, who is going to be speaking about building African urban resilience during a climate emergency. The floor is all yours.
Hello, everyone. It's working?
Yes, sir. Hello. Very nice to have you.
Okay, so it seems to work. Okay. Sorry, my connection is quite poor. So first of all, I'm Stephen Poffrey, the CEO of Energy 2050, and it's an NGO working at the global level on quite a significant number of issues on a systemic approach. And sorry if my place is not so good. I am in Sharm el Sheikh, and I am in my hotel, and the connection is not so good. So just to jump into the discussion and to try to follow up your very important introduction words, let's say, I'm not so sure today, and especially if we focus in developing countries and also in youth people, that at the end, we all know the real situation and we all know the scientific data. And also we know also the, let's say, the large number of solutions and opportunity to change the systems and to go for, let's say, sustainable low carbon development solution. And I would say the block, let's say, the situation is blocked not only at political level, and this is why the message you can, let's say, bring into the debate is very important, because the debate is also a way that citizens worldwide will take into account solidarity and the way they want to change their behaviors for some, let's say, somebody, some situation abroad, which are not directly linked with their comfort each day. And this is why we really think, besides the negotiation, because we are negotiators, we are working with countries, designing and redesigning their NDCs, adaptation plan, their long-term strategies. So just to say, besides this, let's say, important issue, I think we need to recall, let's say, normal people to jump into the discussion. I'm not saying jump into the official COP negotiation discussion, but in your country, in all the situations you can discuss with, we need to bring more people to react and to decide. Why? Because at the end, we know that all these big players, they know the solutions. But on the same time, if you look to some, let's say, big companies, they're also in position to destroy our carbon, let's say, reservoir for the next decade. So what is the solution? The solution is to change the way that people will feel concerned. And when we speak about young people, it is not to make some, let's say, something visible to bring emotion in the debates. It's just to recall that at the end, each of us, when we go back home, we have children. We have some young people in your family. And this is the most important. Sometimes we have also an artistic situation. And sometimes it's very funny. We want to draw things to explain that at the end, when we discuss and do nothing, at the end, it's exactly as if we killed young people. It's not to say, okay, we will do in 2, 3 decades. We have to do now. And the solutions are affordable and really make sense. And you, as youngs, you are not supposed to speak as scientific. You are supposed to speak as children to say, hey, dad, hey, mom, hey, uncle, I'm here. And when you are not doing something, and when you are not supporting something at policy level,
Time is up.
Oh, sorry for that. just to wrap up, to say we need to have not a very specialized discussion. We need to have a child-driven discussion to recall each of us when you are home that at the end, not doing something will destroy the global revenue. And not only waiting that policy guys will do something, because frankly speaking, they will not do it. We know that year after year, we increase our emissions. So we need to change by the ground level to inspire people to do concrete things, to drive by force political guys to change the patterns. So sorry if I'm wrong, and thank you again for this wonderful initiative. And that's clear, we need to be with you because you are the spoken voice for the future. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, sir. It was lovely to hear you today. I absolutely agree with you. You know, it's very important to understand that when laws are being made for children, it's important for children to have a say in the same, because it's our future, it's our generation which is going to be flourishing in our wonderful, wonderful blue marble, as I would put it. And as I also mentioned in yesterday's session, it is us, the generation restoration, the now generation. And I think in the word restoration, it brings to say that Mother Nature needs half. And if not us, who? And if not now, when?
Absolutely. Well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Mr. Gunnar Olsen from the United Kingdom. He's going to be speaking about local climate, sustainable energy solutions in GST, why, how, and from where. The floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me for this event and involving all the children in this important discussion about what we are doing about global climate change on the start here of the COP27. I had prepared some slides, but it seems it doesn't work, so I'll just speak a little bit. I'm representing a network of 140 non-governmental organizations working from around the world, also from the global south and from India and many other countries. We try to promote renewable energy and energy efficiency that we think are some of the right solutions. And for instance, if we are speaking about many things, we are, for instance, speaking about cooking, and it's more than 2 billion people today who are still relying on unclean cooking and difficulties to use to get even simple things like cooking done right. So the important development issue is also a climate issue, because a lot of emissions are coming from there, and not that they are by far as big as from developed countries. We have to be important to know that difference, but it's also something which the global climate action should include. We've identified many other local solutions who really can help people development. It can be biogas plants, it can be solar home systems and mini grids when you don't have power. It can be solar dryers. It can be, for instance, electric vehicles, not just the big expensive cars, but also small 2- and 3-wheelers. And but these are all the things that need to be there, both for the climate and for development. But to go there, we have some important messages for COP. The one thing is that the global stocktake, this global review of progress, which is now leading up to all the countries evaluating their efforts next year, should include solutions that help people and also for the climate, like the local solutions. The climate funding must be increased as promised for developing countries for climate adaptation, loss and damage, and to reduce emissions in developing countries. And the sad thing is that there was promised climate funding up to from 2020 onwards, $100 billion a year. It's not coming. Some of it is coming, but by far not enough. That must be ratified, and that must be like at least what has not been given past years must given in future years. But of course, another important thing is to raise ambition to reduce emissions so we can reach this 1.5 degree that will make a safe development of the earth. And each country must increase.
I had to cut you short, but your time is up.
Yes, so I just finished saying that it's important that all what was promised before COP26 is now made into reality. My final point is that this global funding stream, too much is funding for fossil fuels, and it should be changed to renewable energy and energy efficiency and local solutions. So I hope we can all work towards that, and I hope that we can also have a dialogue on this with you. So thank you very much for allowing me to present these points.
Thank you so much. So, you know, it's a very big irony. We're all surviving in our blue marble. We're all living here. And this, I mean, Mother Earth is our home. But when we talk about development, we often just keep her on the sidelines. And it was wonderful to hear you talk about how development needs to go hand in hand with development with the environment and talking about a sustainable future ahead. Thank you for pointing that out, sir. Thank you so much. Before I move on to the next speaker, I request any panelist who is in the attendees list to kindly raise your hand so we can promote you as panelists. And if anyone has any questions for any of our panelists and for this lovely panel, please put your question in the chat box and we'll take them towards the end of the session. Our next speaker is Ms. Lindsay Cook from Germany, and she's going to be speaking on effective, ethical, and equitable climate action, a foundation for climate justice. The floor is all yours, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm sitting here in Egypt, and I want to say you are wonderful to do what you're doing. The children's voice is actually one of the most effective we've seen in the last years for advocacy because they are not so easily dismissed and not seen as political and more genuine and human. The Quaker United Nations office where I work is actually a faith-based organization, and we work at the international level at the climate negotiations, at the climate science, what's called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and the Human Rights Committee. And when we're at the COP, we are forcing and advocating all this research together into the COP. So we actually work with negotiators before the COP. We bring together a diverse group of negotiators from different countries to talk off the record personally about sensitive issues. We also then work with the climate scientists, so we have the latest science to bring into meetings to constantly remind people of how urgent the situation is, and the human rights language. And I loved your 10 rights and your clever Briggs, because these connect with what we call human rights-based approaches as well in how you do the climate action so that people are part of it and their rights are respected, but it is community action and people benefit. At this COP, we do a lot of work with interfaith, different faiths coming together to talk about action as a moral call to conscience. We work with negotiators to constantly defend the science, to talk about fair action, and we also ground the conversation where we can on the reality of what's happening. Someone has already mentioned the push for fossil fuels. It is a real fight on money and power versus democracy and people benefiting and being part of the action. We also work very much on human rights, what we call ethical, effective, and equitable climate justice. We're going to be working with indigenous communities at this COP on the Arctic. What is happening in the Arctic? Because it is affecting all of us and it is the fastest in terms of warming. For this COP, we are pushing for greater action on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, primarily those the most polluters. We're pushing for finance. This has been mentioned, but we look at grants, not loans. Countries are already under huge debt. and loss and damage, support to those already profoundly affected no matter what happens. So for your rights, your ecological rights, I love this. We talk about human rights, but ecological rights grounds it. Public participation, polluters pay, liability. You talk about holding people accountable. This is so important. Keep this going. Protecting biodiversity. So when we talk about human rights-based approaches, we talk about gender, supporting girls and women, food security. We talk about public participation in decision-making, so children being part of that too, and protecting your rights if there is climate action, if something is happening in your community, that you are not only part of it.
I hate to do this, but your time is up.
Thank you, my dear. And it's just congratulations for bringing this together.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's wonderful to hear you today. You know, all the points which I've highlighted today, actually, I've been waiting for someone to talk about it because it's very, very important. Understanding how this entire climate cycle works. I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, when you talk about this human mentality, what we think out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. And earlier, when humans couldn't directly see the impact of climate change, it was out of their minds, even though there were hundreds of protests, riots, and whatnot. But now that it's in our sight, I think it's crawling back into our mind, and it's very essential to take action before we hear the bells of the climate, the climate drinking. Thank you for pointing all this out, ma'am.
Thank you. And I may not be able to stay too long because of data, but thank you. I'll stay as long as I can.
Thank you, ma'am. Before we begin with the next panelists, we have a short, very interesting quiz for all of you. So give us a minute while we get that prepared. The link is going to be in the chat box. Thank you. I've shared a link to join the quiz in the chat box. I request all the attendees to kindly join the same. Prizes for the winner awaits. As for now, we only have 46 people in the quiz, and I can see there are about 349 people in the attendees list. So I request you all to kindly join in.
Naman, can adults and panelists also join this quiz?
Absolutely, sir.
I take this opportunity to thank the panelists who are here right now for bringing in the voice of different segments of Mother Earth, as well as vulnerable community affected by this, but most importantly, the voice of every member of our Earth community. Thank you for taking the time on your busy COP27 schedules to be here.
Let's wait for another minute before we begin the quiz. I'll be starting off with the quiz now. I hope everyone is attempting the quiz. Here are your results. Congratulations, Ritima, first place. Second is Prakshi, and third is Bhargavi. Huge congratulations, everyone, for participation and for winning.
Thanks, Naman. Naman had cleverly put a wrong question there. General comment was marked 27. Does anyone know what general comment's actual number is? Can you put that in the chat box, please? Thank you, Ridhima, and everyone. You're paying attention. And thanks, Naman, for that googly to us.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, we'll now be moving on with the speakers. I hope this was a nice easer for everyone. Our next speaker is Ms. Charlotte Massitri from USA, who is going to be speaking on engaging business, finance, and government in climate action and solutions to biodiversity. The floor is all yours. Ma'am, if you are on the attendees list, kindly raise your hand so we can promote you as panelist. All right.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Could you kindly repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Nothing, ma'am. You can continue. The floor is all yours.
Sorry, I'm so nervous.
That's okay. You want me to repeat the questions for you?
Yes.
Okay. We would like you to talk about what is the focus area of intervention at COP26, and then what outcomes do you expect from COP26 and beyond? And lastly, most importantly, what are your observations and recommendations on the developing Children's Earth Charter and ecological rights for children?
I'll make it brief since it's 2 minutes. Actually, I'm not yet at COP. I'm leaving on Sunday, and I think, there's quite like the main focus on, loss and damages and climate finance, because we really need it, especially in countries like Bangladesh, India, and South Africa, or like, African or developing countries, which are actually on the front lines of the climate crisis. And my expectations is that we do get the funding, because the losses and damages solutions are very expensive or costly, and there are other like costs that are not actually even that are not prioritized, like for example mental health and things like when families or people lose homes and all of that. So those are the things that we also need to kind of like observe. And I can't really speak much on my observations at the moment, because I'm not yet at COP, but I do also have like a strong sense that we need to also center the voices of children because they are not just the future leaders, they are the current generation that is actually experiencing the worst of this crisis, and we do need them at the tables. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We wish you the best of luck for COP27, and we hope you come back with a lot of good experience and observations. It was a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And next,
I just want to like thank Miss Charlotte for coming here because I'm very touched actually because like we can see a tin roof there, and I feel most of the people here can resonate with that because all of us have tin roofs, and we know that how difficult it is in the summers and in the other seasons. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming here and like actually representing us. Thank you.
it means a lot to us all, ma'am. Wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on with the next speaker, we have Ms. Katrin Gansberg from Germany, who is going to be speaking on the role of financiers and investors in Africa's and Asia's energy transition. The floor is all yours, ma'am. It appears ma'am is not able to join us for now, so we'll move on with the next speaker. That's Professor Seema Singh from Malaysia. The floor is all yours, ma'am. Namaste, ma'am.
I'm from India.
Oh, apologies.
Actually, my presentation is disabled, so please say that I can present my. I have prepared a presentation also for the session.
Ma'am, we're just looking into it. If you could just give us 1 minute.
Ma'am, you have the permission to share the screen. Okay, just a minute.
Meanwhile, can the attendees please type in your questions for the respective delegates? We'll get them addressed in the Q&A section.
If you have any questions for any of our panelists who have already spoken or yet to speak, would love to have them.
I am Professor Seema Singh from Delhi Technological University and board member South Asia International Network of Women Scientists and Engineers. And I have used my the slides which of the webinar which I organized last year for girls and young women. So as a teacher of engineering college, we teach students. Sorry, next. But beside that, we as a social responsibility, we just beyond campus also, we move to the nearby slums and we sensitize school students towards emerging world of science. And the rural girls also, I have worked with rural girls also for just opting for and how they can opt science, because you have to be very good in maths and science, maths from the beginning. So they need to be sensitized towards it also. So I have done it in the past. And then regarding COP27, so as it has already been decided to move beyond ambitious pledges, the suggestion is strong fiscal measures, taxes for anyone who is violating, and subsidy for those who are abiding rules. So maybe taken at two levels, at the macro level, the country or the sectors, and at the micro level, firms as well as households. And any surplus which may be generated should be spent on child welfare and for providing them information and knowledge to achieve sustainability. My recommendation and observation about the children charter is to incorporate concept of circular economy in the school textbooks, because reuse, repair, refurbish, and recycle is very important to have sustainable environment. And educating girls, as the girls, when they grow up, they become center of the affairs in the household, as well as they are working outside the house also. So teaching them, and that has hampered very badly during COVID-19. So that must be taken care of. So these are my suggestion for the charter. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Professor Seema Singh. It was wonderful to have you here with us today. And it's truly a delight to see these wonderful recommendations which you have for our charter and building. And of course, these really add to making the charter more and more inclusive for not one, but for all. Thank you for being here with us, ma'am. Means a lot.
Yes, I'm closing it.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much, ma'am. Wish you a wonderful day.
And I wish all the good luck to all of you. And I'm very amazed and very happy to be here. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Best of luck. Our next speaker is Mr. Sanjay Peshist from India, who is going to be speaking on global goal and adaptation, delivering justice to the vulnerable communities and countries. The floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Naman. Thank you, everyone, for giving me the opportunity. Yes, global goal and adaptation is something that we need to work on. Now, let me try to simplify what does global goal and adaptation is. The biggest problem of COP is the language that we speak, though we speak in English, is so legal and so complicated that it's very difficult for them to understand. Global goal and adaptation is basically a goal. It's like, whenever you go from one place to a destination, you know how many kilometers you need to cover, at what speed you need to drive, where you need to take a halt, where you need to make sure that your vehicle is fit, basically, tire pressure and everything, where you need to go for filling. Similarly, global goal on adaptation would mean we set up a goal globally that we are going to save by 2030 so many billion people. For an example, it's not yet agreed, it is being negotiated yet, but I'm just giving an example. That means then what we need to do to save 1 billion people from cyclone, droughts, or heat waves. So when we start calculating, then we know what kind of interventions are required, how much money that we need to put on the table, what governments need to do, with what kind of policies are required. And that is why my expectation from COP this year is basically two major expectations. One is finance. Finance in a loss, basically finance has been allocated for climate change internationally around 100 billion, though developed countries are giving only 22, 23 billion per year. But I think they need to put more on the table. But I think what is more important is that now we need loss and damage finance facility, a separate fund which will cater to loss and damage. What does loss and damage means? For example, any one of you, if you're living on a coastal area and there are 3 cyclones in a row and your house is broken or damaged to an extent it cannot be revived, and then what you need to do is then you need to basically make sure that you have to displace yourself, you go to some other place, reconstruct your home and all that. So there is a permanent loss to your home, there's a permanent loss to your agriculture field, and then you'll be forced to look for some other living, other work, so that you can earn money and you can feed your family. So certainly loss and damage need to look into that, because what will happen is if there is no finance facility for loss and damage, then the biggest just give me a minute. Then what happen is then children are displaced, they are on move, they look at an uncertain future, and that is why loss and damage finance facility is my expectation. Adaptation finance is also my expectations. I'll just share 2 more recommendations you may like to consider because I haven't seen. You may like to call for IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, to please ask for a climate change and children report, special report on climate change and children.
I'm so sorry, your time is up now.
Thank you, Arivir. I'll shut up. Naman,
Thank you so much. Although if you would like to complete your recommendation, that's completely fine.
Okay. No, I just want to respect Aravir's strict time. So one, please ask for IPCC to prepare a special report on climate change and children. And second, there should be a child-friendly explainers for COP decisions. COP decisions are always legal language. They should be simplified so that children can understand what is being discussed for their future. Thank you.
So I completely agree with you. In fact, this is a point which had never struck my mind either, even though I'm being a part of the young generation. It's true that whenever we do read any updates on websites of COP27, anything, they're all in a very, very legally binding language. And it's often a little, I'd say, stressful to read and research, keeping in mind balancing studies with extracurricular and everything. So it's honestly a wonderful suggestion, and thank you for that. Before we move on to the next speaker, we have one wonderful question from a chat box, although it's from an anonymous attendee. So I'll be saying out the question. The question is, are there any recommendations that were put forward in COP26 that have now been implemented? The question is open to all of our panelists. Would anyone like to take a step and answer the question?
I would just add that COP26 really gave attention to loss and damage in a way that is very needed, and that's what we're seeing more raised here in COP27. It's slow, but COP26 really had huge advocacy pushing for this.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for clearing it out for all of us. Any other panelists who would like to address, or can we move forward?
Naman, can you repeat your question?
Sir, there's a question in the chat box from an anonymous attendee, and the question is, are there any recommendations that were put forward in COP26 that are now in implementation?
Yes, Green Climate Fund is operational, though not distributing everything, but at least they're distributing 35 paisa out of 1 rupee that is supposed to flow. So basically 100 billion. So they have been able to manage 23 billion circulation, which is helping many projects on ground in terms of adaptation and mitigation also.
Thank you, sir. I think this question has been a lovely recap for all of us for what happened.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Would you like to answer?
Yeah. Just if I may, I think one very important thing for COP26 was so many countries promised to increase climate action, and this is not something that's done from one day to the next. So we are really eager to see now at COP27 if they did it. So that's one of the big questions, which we hope will have a good answer. But let's see the next days. Thank you.
Fingers crossed for the same.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, we'll now be moving on with our next panelist. That's going to be Mr. Alexander Korshman. And he's going to be speaking about, he's from the Russian Federation. He's going to be speaking about Russia's approaches to climate change adaptation and mitigation. The floor is all yours.
May I request Catherine to speak first? I think she's got a bit of time limit.
Absolutely.
Good morning. Should I speak now?
Yes, ma'am. The floor is all yours.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the invitation. Yeah, my name is Katrin. I'm the investment campaigner at the NGO Urgewald. And together with our partners from around the world, we want to close the tap on fossil fuel financing. Because to limit global warming, as you all know, the world needs to get out of coal, oil, and gas. But meanwhile, the fossil industry is still growing. While we are experimenting climate change, fossil companies are still opening new oil wells, drill for gas, dig up new coal mines. And to do all these, companies need money. Money that is, as we just heard, urgently needed for compensate for loss and damage, but also to pay for a just transition of the energy system to renewables. And until now, public and private banks, insurances, and investors are helping these oil, gas, and coal companies still to expand their dirty business. We researched the whole global coal industry, all world's oil and gas producers, and most companies building new pipelines and shipment facilities for gas. And us and our partners, we use these lists we research to demand rules from banks that stop them from financing the fossil industry and its growth. During COP, we want to counterbalance the fossil fuel lobbyists, the fossil fuel lobbyists from which there are really plenty at COP. Together with our friends who work on fossil fuel divestment, we want to present our campaigns and get in touch with decision makers from the finance industry. We will follow them through to their workshops, to their panels, ask critical questions, discuss with them and unveil their greenwashing and their up in the air statements. We also want to engage with the relevant people who are willing to change and support them in doing so with our research and our data, which we can give them. Why it is important, you are all raising your voice. I mean, obviously it's your future, which is negotiated at COP. So a strong statement like the ecological rights for children is more than needed. It should be the basis actually of all these conferences. And in general, the younger we are as humans, the more blunt we are, the more pristine we phrase our opinion. And that's why the voice of the young generation was really managing to speed up climate action, even if it's still too slow. So don't stop, accelerate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a pleasure listening to you today. I think if I'm not wrong, Germany is also on track to achieve carbon neutrality by 2045. And listening to you just helps us keep track of how what we're thinking is going to be possible at the end of the day. Thank you so much. We'll now be moving on with our next speaker. That is coming back to Mr. Alexander Horstman from Russian Federation, speaking on Russia's approaches to climate change adaptation and mitigation. The floor is all yours. It appears sir is not able to join us, so we'll move on with the next speaker. Our next speaker is, apologies if I'm pronouncing the name incorrectly, Sitambul Mwamakamba from South Africa.
Naman, we don't have the speaker right now at the moment.
Okay, all right. Then I think we'll move on to our last speaker. That is Tomoifo Nkomari from Cameroon. Are they with our panel or the attendee list?
Not there.
No issues. So I think that's going to be the end of our panel discussion today. And a huge thanks for all the panelists for joining in. At the end, if I may just say one thing, let's picture one analogy. Let's picture climate change as a video game and the pollution as the ultimate monster to defeat. The youth is the controller and the joystick, and it is in our hands to make a move to fight this monster. Thank you so much.
Naman, since we have some time, can we take up more questions for the speakers?
Surely.
If they have time.
Absolutely. Are there any people who would like to ask any questions? Please do post them in the chat box. There is one question coming up a lot, also by Prakshi, that says, what is carbon footprinting and what are the ways to reduce carbon footprints? Any panelists who would like to answer that question?
I can do that, Naman. If that's
Absolutely,
okay.
sir. The floor is all yours.
Yes, carbon footprint is basically how much you emit in a year. And let me give you some figures in terms of so that you can compare also. And no offense to developed countries colleagues, but I think these figures will be important to understand the narrative also. I think India carbon footprint is 1.91 ton per year per person. So we are around 3.4 billion people, 1.91 ton per year per person. And then sustainable limit, basically I saw a question from Nitin Notre Dame also about self-cleaning ability of nature. So as long as every person on earth is consuming within 2.5 ton per year per person, earth can recycle the emissions and there will not be climate change or there will not be a concentration of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. But let's compare from other countries. China, it's around 11 ton per year per person, compared to 1.91 ton per person per year in India. Germany, around 9 ton. US, 23 tons. So that's the difference between, and of course, many countries, most of the countries in Africa are less than 0.5 ton per year. Bangladesh is around 0.56 ton per year per person. So that's the carbon footprint. How much area you are occupying in the atmosphere by making an emissions, whether your emissions occupy 23 ton worth of area or 1.91 or 2 ton per of area. That's your carbon footprint. How to reduce it? I'm not saying no ACs, but I'm saying energy efficient cooling system, use less use of fossil fuel in your day-to-day working. For example, if we are if we are using lift for first floor, or we are using lift for third or fourth floor, which is compulsory. So as long as survival emissions are there, your carbon footprint will be sustainable. If you get into luxury or laziness, then your carbon footprint will be extra, and Earth will not be able to recycle it.
Absolutely, sir. So I think what I was understanding from what you were speaking about, it's essential to achieve circular economy. And that is how we start towards it from a grassroots level, starting from a very personal and individual approach, moving on to how we can achieve greater heights. Thank you so much. Any other questions, please do post them in the Q&A section and not in the chat box so we can easily access them.
Naman, I would like to come in here for a second. I just want to acknowledge and appreciate all the participants who are joining from one device. Like we are getting feedbacks and we're getting images that people are joining, like many students are joining from only one device. It shows how determined they are to make their voice heard and to be part of this global movement. I really appreciate that and keep it up. And thank you so much for joining. Over to you, Naman. We can take another question of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. There's one more question that's coming up again, if anyone would like to answer that. What is the importance of child rights and ecological rights in COP27? Are there any pavilions set up for the same? And if so, is there anything which can be done to promote ecological rights for children at COP27? Would anyone like to answer that question? Any panelists?
I would like to answer.
Absolutely, ma'am. The floor is all yours.
Actually, we ultimately, at the end of the day, we need a kind of, because everything is related to every other thing. So what we do is affecting and is affected by something. And children are young and they are going to be here for longer period. So it is for all of us, not for only for child, that we just stop looking at something at a very like compartmentalized manner. We have to see in a holistic way and everything related to each other. So as a child, there are some rights. So and you may say that the environmental right is also one of that, because if the environment is not good, so it is going to affect your health. So health, you need to, this is your right to have good health, so that you can read better, work effectively. So the environment under which we are living, that has to be sustainable. And that's why we, my perception is, the way we are going is a kind of, again, we are going to see everything under one roof, and we have discussed everything. And just child right is very important, because child is going to have to remain in the world for longer period. But it is same for all of us. So I think I have answered your question.
Naman, can I come in?
Sorry. Thank you so much. Absolutely, sir.
Yeah. Naman, I think child rights are, seeking child rights is one way to enhance adaptation of children's in the impact zone, or basically those who are facing disasters every day. If there are child rights which are enshrined in the decisions, then what it will mean? It would mean there will be extra efforts to avoid any kind of human exploitation or human trafficking kind of incident. As of now, they are vulnerable. Child labor is becoming rampant, primarily because they are on move, they are displaced, and earning is compulsory. So certainly child rights, acknowledging child rights in terms of education, in terms of protection in adaptation plans and COP decisions would really bring in a lot more safeguards in place. At COP, there are no special child centric pavilions, but there are many side events, university side events that organizations organizes, which speaks about the various approaches on how to prioritize children and women when adaptation planning is happening. And in this year also, I saw the side event list. A lot more is happening. I know Gunnar is in the list. I know Eco Village Development will cover a lot more on child at the village level.
Thank you so much, sir. And I think if we have time, I would like to take one more question that is from Nizia that talks about why mental health is a priority for action on climate change. And if I can add one thing to that, panelists, how do you think one can resolve the aspect of the effect, the change in the mindset and mental health of youth working towards change making? Any panelists who would like to answer that question? The floor is all yours.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Surely, ma'am. The question, I'll just be repeating, why mental health is a priority for action on climate change? And additionally, how do you think there is a change in mindset or one's mental health as one is entering the stage of youth and focusing on climate action and change making?
The life is very competitive nowadays. So even the child means even you are just staying in so much stress. So stress is ultimately leading to mental disease, mental distress, you can say, and very continuous. You are living in stress for a very long period. Then it will lead to because the body is also one. So if you are not mentally healthy, it will have an effect on your efficiency, your performance, and everything. So ultimately, we are just discussing again as one unit is body, and we have to, and mental well-being is discussed separately because mental well-being has not been discussed so far, and then we have a taboo also. So now we have to realize that we should not consider it a taboo. We should discuss it, and anyone who is having any kind of problem should come forward and should seek help and all those things. So nowadays we are talking about, because unless we are healthy, not only physically but mentally also, we will not be able to perform to our fullest capacity. Thank you.
May I also? May
yes,
I? Yeah, I'd like to supplement that when it comes to climate change, I know lots of young people are really concerned about climate change for good reason, because one of the biggest problems of the world. But it's important that we all, and maybe especially young people, go from being just concerned and maybe think that you can do nothing about it, to actually start to see that we can all do something, particularly for young people and children. If they start to study it and see what kind of good solutions there are where they can contribute themselves, even though they cannot do something right now, they're the ones in the future are going to take over many things, and soon they realize that they can actually do something. And first they have to, of course, to study, or many people have to study and learn about the things, but then gradually they will be able also to change. So start looking at the solutions, and then, well, it's important to see the positive side of it and not just despair. And I hope people can do that, and particularly young people do that more. And I think that's, at least when mental health is deteriorating because of problems of climate change, you can overcome by in such ways. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think I really relate with what you have said and what ma'am said. I mean, as someone, I'm 14 and as also working towards climate action, it really does impact one's mental health and how one can actually achieve a little bit of stability in one's mind as well. And Tom, if we still have you with us right now, I would just like to ask you one question. What was that point in your life where you realized that as being the now generation, the generation restoration, you wanted to start working on climate action? Was there, I mean, what was that fire within you which started all of this? Appears Tom is not able to answer. So any of the panelists who would like to take this up? I can repeat the question. What
Yes.
was the, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, please repeat the question.
All right, I'll be repeating the question. The question in short is, what was it fire within you which helped you realize that you want to work towards climate action and climate justice? And how did this enlighten?
Yeah, certainly. I'm from economics background. So for century means 17th, 18th century, and even 19th century, it was believed that it is a byproduct of development. And if the country will develop, there will be some pollution. But in 20th century and the 21st century, that was the limit we have reached up to the means you can edge. We are at the edge. And if we have to survive, so environment just not only affect your health or your climate means some rain you have or something, but it is affecting the economy also. Like many displacement, all those who are working on displaced people, they will agree with me that how many, if you take that statistics, number of people displaced due to climate change, maybe much more than any other kind of displacement. So it is going to affect people, livelihood, employment, and then ultimately GDP and everything is affected by. If there is 1 year bad monsoon, it will affect your agricultural production, and ultimately you will have the problem of means the survival, food security. So everything is connected. So economy is very much dependent on the climate also. So being economics person, ultimately when I just work more, so I thought I realized that without having a connection with climate and environment, you can't discuss anything else, because that is umbrella kind of thing. We all are surviving under that environment. So whether you are discussing, and that's why technology, I'm in an engineering college, so the technology is very important, because the technology is enhancing your efficiency. A human being without technology can work, and with technology, so with technology, he may be or she may be more efficient, maybe working, the output will be more. So without technology, you can't survive, but you have to concentrate on green technology or appropriate technology, and all those things you have to consider. So these are the very little things, and if we want to develop, we have to take care of the technology. And one word which I'll borrow from our MP Sudhanshu Trivedi's lecture, said he was mentioning something weak. Someone when first person went to moon, the newspaper wrote that he conquered moon. So word conquered is bad, because human being can't conquer any in this the whole the environment, or the, you can say, the earth or anything. So we have to survive, and we have to find out a way where we are living in a kind of give and take, and kind of equilibrium kind of thing. So that is all, and that is the crux of circular economy also.
Ma'am, it has inspired me listening to you right now to a level beyond I could compare. You know, I think when you talked about how the difference between the now generation, the previous generations, when I talk to my grandma or my grandfather about climate justice, climate inequalities, you know, one thing which they always tell me is that they're very sorry for our generation, because of the action which have been proceeding, and because of what we're still doing, we are now born into a world with climate action. We're now a part of climate change. And bursting everybody's bubble and escaping this world of fitness, it is essential that we can't just sit out. You know, I can't go in a corner and wait for climate change to get over, wait for the climate bells to stop ringing. It is me and it is us who have to stop the climate bells of ringing. It is us who need to, you know, take action to achieve climate justice. Thank you so much for this.
My pleasure.
Thank you to all the panelists for answering our wonderful questions. I now would like to hand over the mic back to Ram for the session. Thank you for having me, means a lot. Thank you so much.
Before Ram comes in, there are a few questions in the chat box and the question answer section. May I request panelists to respond to our young people's queries in writing? Thank
So
you.
would you like me to take it up live, or do you want this to happen on chat?
On chat only.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, sister. Thank you, everyone.
I would like to invite actually Sheetal, who is one of our COP members, and she will do this quick philometer. May I invite Sheetal, please?
Thank you. Now I am requesting everyone to share your valuable feedback with us. We are share Fellometer link in the chat box. When you click on the link, you will get some option. You can choose any option and submit to share your response. Here is the link.
Not too sure whether we have the link ready, Sheetal. Can we go to Naman for a little while, and while the link is coming up, we'll come back to the philometer. Naman, do you have your Mentimeter ready?
Yes, sir. I'll just take 1 minute to put the link on.
Okay. So we'll wait for the fastest finger in terms of either Naman or Sheetal's link coming up. In the meantime, I take this opportunity to thank all the people who have supported our entire No Cop Out event. That's World Vision, Save the Children, Edmund Rice International, Van Shakti, Vadana Todo Abhiyan, INEC, who's already in COP27 right now, and other organizations, Brain Rhyme, World Vision, for really supporting us. Sheetal, incidentally, is one of the World Vision's child pro-activists. Naman supports both Pratik, Nina's Mind, and Save the Children. So thank you for all these wonderful giants of child rights for supporting our efforts. I see Naman has sent in the link for Mentimeter.
Yes, I have put in the link for Mentimeter. The Mentimeter requires you to put in any 3 words which reflect what you want to see in COP27, or any 3 words for the future. I'll now be sharing my screen in just 30 seconds as well.
Please go through the link. Thank you.
It's lovely to see everyone responding.
Yes, Naman, it is very, very beautiful to see everyone's vision for the earth on the slide.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with you. Thank you so much, everyone, for putting in your answers. We see change making, environmental protection, fulfilling promises, earth, our blue marble, climate justice, and all other wonderful words appearing on the screen. Thank you so much.
And it's continuously evolving.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's our growing circle.
After you've put in your word, I would request everyone to just look at the screen and see what have others written. How much do you resonate with that?
In our session today, we have 312 people, and I hope each and every one, including the panelists, have put in their words for the earth.
Beautiful. I think, Naman, let's move on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Naman, and thank you, Sheetal. I would request Ruksar, who is the president of National Inclusive Children's Parliament and Deputy Prime Minister of a local children's parliament, to give us her short inspirational quote.
Thank you, Ram, for inviting me. I'm here as a child. I seek child rights for all children. As a girl, I seek gender rights for all women and sexual minorities. As a Muslim minority living in an urban slum and a child of daily wagers, I seek right for all vulnerable children. As a human, I seek rights for all human beings. As an animal lover, I seek animal rights for all animals, birds, and bees. As an earthling, I seek rights for all earth beings. In short, I seek all rights for all. For only then our planet will be truly a right for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruksar, for your powerful quote. May I request Steve Rocha, the Executive Director at Pratyek and the National Convener of our management campaign, whom we still fondly call brother, to present the way forward and vote of thanks.
Thank you, Ram, and all the young anchors who've led us in the last 2 hours in a wonderful, powerful, interactive session. I don't know how the time passed by, and I believe it's been the same for many of us adults listening into what young people want and what they're demanding and what they're going to take no, that they will not take no for an answer, and the only way forward is now, and there's no other way. So thank you. I just wanted to firstly acknowledge that what we're doing right now is not just another event, another Zoom event that we can tick off the box, but really it's been part of a process of a year-long and even more of young people across the country and across the world articulating what they want for their Mother Earth and for themselves in the future and future generations. So this particular program is going to affect a number of world dialogues happening right now, and any dialogue that's happening in India or in the world, we're going to have put our little two-piece in it and our foot in the door and say nothing about children without children, and nothing about the earth without Mother Earth itself, represented by young children and the most vulnerable of our communities. May I have that slide on the 10-point charter, please, and the PowerPoint ahead. So this is going to be the focus of our conversations the way forward. Do continue to share in your views on this charter. I'm imploring the young people present here to please go back to that charter and make it stronger. We need your wisdom. You have real experiences, you have real stories. Without you, this charter is going to be just a play of words. The next slide, please. We're going to use this charter then for other events coming up. I know that there's COP27 happening right now. There's another COP happening in Canada, in Montreal, in December, and that one is going to be on CBD, the Convention on Biodiversity. As one of the speakers said, it will affect, it does affect climate change too, and it affects our mental health, our existence, and our connection with big one community. Go to the next few slides. So we are in the middle of No Cop Out event, and on Monday we begin COP27. We wish all the delegates present here the very best, but please take this charter there and ensure that every conversation, whether it's on energy or on pollution or anything, brings in the voices of these young people. Next slide, please. Thanks to Karthik, and we're going to involve all of you into the number of processes involving General Comment 26. Karthik had organized this with Teres Day's Homes and other child rights organizations in Geneva on an Asia level. So we'll be keeping you connected with all these platforms in the build up to General Comment 26. So stay tuned to us and like the 9 is Mine Pratyek pages, because we'll keep you informed what's happening into the future. Next slide, please. COP27. We wish them all the very best. Next slide, please. And we also will be influenced right now. Violet, who is packing her bags to go to Geneva to attend the Universal Periodic Review of Human Rights of India, which children have written a report on, and it also includes environmental issues. So all the best, Violet, for that, and taking the voices of children to all the platforms available there and speak to the hearts and minds of all our permanent missions representing all the countries. We'll be taking it to Bali G20, to COP CBD in Montreal. Next slide, please. And most importantly, to General Comment 26. Karthik is present here. He will personally be taking your comments there on this important General Comment process. And we're glad that the UN have now taken this as a principle that all conventions will follow, listening to the most affected, in this case, listening to children. But let's always keep that principle going forward, that if there's anything affecting any of vulnerable people, they must be at the table. Thank you. Next slide. The national budget. Our young people are preparing their framework to go back to their finance minister and say, we want a budget that's both child-friendly and green. Next slide, please. This high-level political forum will happen in September next year. It's the halfway mark of the global goals. We will be affecting this as well, this conversation. So stay tuned with us for engagement with this. All our platforms on 9 is Mine are centered around ensuring that these 16 goals, we say, 17, we say 18, because the last goal is all rights for all children. Next slide, please. We're also going to go back to our Minister of Women and Child Development and saying, you haven't reviewed your policies yet. It's 5-year time is up, but we are going to review it for you. And we certainly want stronger emphasis on children's participation and earth rights. Next slide, please. This is a very important one, and I'm asking all of you to pay acute attention to this. Asking all the NGOs present here, all the representatives present here to support this venture. Around about January, we will be having a MUN is what you know, Model United Nations or Mock United Nations. We're going to have an MCOP, where young people will be writing in as if they were countries, delegates of countries, and write in what their response to General Comment 26 would be, and base it on research of what countries have been saying on climate change. Write a statement as if you were a country, write recommendations as if you were that country, and then tell that country that, look, we appreciate your response. However, we would want it stronger, and therefore adopt our 10-point program. This is advocacy route presented to you. We'll take your report and go to knocking on every single embassy's door or ministry across the world, foreign affairs ministries, and say, this is what young people are saying. Please, please give us a strong UN Comment 26, ecological rights for children. So please support it, and asking all school students to attend it, and tell your principals to ensure that your child rights activists and vulnerable in your community take part of it. It's not only for the most articulate. Ram, one of the anchors, has said, please, brother, include the word in before it, in meaning inclusive. We want children from different languages present there, different socioeconomic backgrounds, and countries as well present there. Next slide, please. And thank you once again to all these young people who modeled genuine participation. These were the young people who came together and designed this entire platform, and will evaluate it later on and take this forward. So if the chat box is open, can you put type in CCC as in clap, clap, clap for all these young people who have been our COT team, core organizing team, COT. Thank you, all the young people, for putting CCC in there. I'm not going to name each of you, but you're there. And thank you to all these wonderful organizations who have supported us in so many ways. We had over 1,800 registrations, which is really credible for us as a small organization to have that many young people register. We couldn't send them a reminder this morning, and therefore less have come in. because he didn't get that last reminder. But that's really what we struggle as a small organization to do, and yet try and have impact on the ground level. The next slide, please. Thanks to all the speakers for today and yesterday for spending time with us, even though you're right in the middle and the heart of COP27 conversations and preparations. We know what it's like to be in the eve of a program and delegations like this, and all the struggles that goes into it. So thank you for being with us and really validating that children's voices are important and that you will take it with you to COP27. So help us make 27 for 26. We're depending on you and our young delegates from yesterday to really make COP27 a conference for general comment 26, 27 for 26. Next slide, please. Thanks to our translators, Temsrenla and Aaron, Amit for Spanish. Today, Dr. Ram Kumar did the Spanish one. It was so delightful for the way he interacted with the young people there and bringing the voice of Latin America and other vulnerable communities into our gathering. Thanks to Suneja too, who desperately tried to be here with us and give us translation, but because she actually symbolically represented children who are disconnected because of digital disconnects here, she's in a low bandwidth area, but thank you for your sincere efforts to be here. Thanks, Jarna, for coming in on a holiday and being with us today and reconnecting with us. Thanks, Chayadi, also for spending the day in school and then coming to us in the evening here. I really appreciate your efforts to making this possible and more inclusive. Next slide, please. Thanks, Tom, for coming in. And lastly, there is a little symbol on my screen of Pratik. It symbolizes all the young people at Pratik who spend in hours and hours putting this together. It doesn't come easy. Lots of preparation, lots of hard work, sweat, blood, and tears goes into it. And I really want to appreciate each of you, particularly the team that came in together a month ago to put this together. I need to personally and now include names like Sujat ma'am, Sister Connie, Aileen, and the young people around Ram who came together day in and day out to put this together. Thank you very much. But now your time and your tasks begin as we column the curtains on this program. We now look eagerly towards COP27 and the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Steve, for the way forward and thanks. Now I would like to thank our panelists who gave their precious time to this event. I would like to give my special thanks to the interpreters for making this session more inclusive. I would like to thank Naman. I would like to thank Naman and Sandhya for co-hosting the event, and I want to thank the special thanks to the COP and COT team for their time to this program, and this program was successful just because of them. And very special thanks to the RAV, our timekeeper, who did a great job in this event. And I would like to thank the technical team for the technical work that has been done, our partner organizations who helped us performing this event, and every participant for their participation in this program. This program is just successful because of them, also because their participation matters a lot. And overall, I want to thank everybody who gave their time for this event. And we'll keep doing this work because we want ourselves to be into this topic so that we can save our upcoming generations and their upcoming generations. Thank you so much, everybody, for your precious time.
Maybe we'll play the last song, the theme song again. But after the theme song, we'll just take a question. Tom, Naman had asked you a question. If you're still there, I see you just typed in a question, a comment right now. You may want to take it up later on. But let's move to the song. And then Tom.
last but not the least, please don't forget to review our charter and fill in your recommendations. We're waiting for your recommendations in the chat box. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
While the technical glitches are being addressed, I invite you to watch this song once again and pick out a word or a phrase that hits you hard and that taking back with you today as your message into COP27 and General Comment 26. Let this be our prayer for Mother Earth, that we will not be silenced. Thanks, Praveen, for that reminder that there are courses available on 9ismine.in. If you visit that, there's one particular one on biomultiversity, not university, but multiversity. It's on biodiversity. And there's another one on Earth Proactivists. I encourage all of you to do that. There are automatic certificates being provided by international organizations. Please visit that. Please do these simple courses that will help you enhance your climate change vocabulary and the science of climate change as well.
Sorry for the technical. Can you give us a few seconds?
Sure. While we're waiting, Tom, are you still here? If you are, Naman, what was your question to Tom?
I'm sorry, sir. Could you please repeat that?
Tom, raise your hand if you're there. And if you are, Naman, what was your question to Tom, who spoke earlier? There he is. To him earlier, you asked him a question earlier. There were some technical glitches then as well. Recall your question?
Tom, I just wanted to ask you, what was that fire within you which told you that you wanted to start working for climate action? I mean, being in a similar age group, what is that fire which enlightened within you that, you know, put forward a notion in your mind to start working towards climate justice?
Hi.
Hi, Tom.
So I think is it what got me interested in climate change and what got me started in it. So in our network, there was just when I first joined the network, Edmund Rice, there wasn't so much going on. There was a little bit going on, and it was starting to get spoken about. But I think I just saw a gap in the conversations which was on the environment, and I think it was all to do with the fact that many people in our Edmund Rice England network weren't seeing a difference, weren't seeing a change, their voices weren't being heard. And because we weren't witnessing climate change, it was because we were in England and it's not, the physical changes aren't all there. I think it was that passion, and I wanted to listen to what other young people wanted to say because they were being affected by it. So I think it was, for me, it was knowing that as a young person, my voice was important, and knowing that I was going to be listened to by organizations like Pratt Yerk and by Edmund Rice International, and knowing that by getting involved in this, I, have now built myself a platform where other people can listen to what I'm saying and make sure that their voices are being heard, and as in someone to talk to. And I think this whole organization is just, it's incredible that so many young people have managed to be able to get involved and managed to be able to put their voices forward and their opinions forward and be listened to. So I think for me, at the start, it was to do with that there was a gap in our school network. But I think now what keeps me going is that organizations like this have been built up on the fact that to give young people a platform. So that's what keeps me going.
That is so powerful. And I think I'll wish more power to you and all the youth watching us today. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Thank you, everyone.
Best of luck. Thank you so much, Steve, sir.
let's wind up here then, since we're still having technical issues with the display of the song, because I think our interpreters need to move on as well. But once again, thanks to our interpreters, particularly to Dr. Ram Kumar and Jharna for being with us today. Really appreciate all the hard work you have taken to ensuring that it's more inclusive today. Thank you, everyone. Don't forget our little bits of homework. There is the song being played, but feel free to move on if you have other commitments. If you can stay with us, let the song inspire you once again. Okay, so I see that we're still facing struggles there. Have a great day, everyone. And thanks to everybody for putting this together. Thanks to the young people for anchoring this and taking this forward. And thank you to Ram and Sandhya particularly for anchoring today. And Sandhya for coming in at the last moment. Thank you, Naman, Aryaveer, and Arna, who was not here today, but was an anchor yesterday. And all of you for putting this together. I cannot stop saying thank you, because the gratitude which I feel today for your hard work, because I believe that all this hard work is not just another activity, but really impacting 2.2 billion young people's future and many billions to come ahead. I think this has been really the impact of what you've been doing. And we promise, with your help, to take this forward to all our policymakers and say nothing about children without children. But Naman, I like your phrase. You say earth rights are child rights. And I flip it around to say, therefore, whatever you claim as child rights should also be earth's rights as well. The right to be heard, the right to be participating in all decisions, and the right to seek remedy. And everything that you claim for you should be the rights of Mother Earth too. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Do join our programs and our certificate courses and visit our website at www.9ismine.in. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Brother Steve, and the entire Pratyek team for giving us the youth a platform to express our voices. Thanks a lot. And thank you for having me here today.
Thanks, Aryaveer, for being a wonderful anchor and timekeeper. You were brilliant, as always. Okay. Thanks to Sheetal. So apologies for the glitches we had there again in putting up your link. But thank you for stepping in. Thanks to our Prime Minister, Tejaswini, who was there earlier yesterday and gave a speech. Thanks to Ruksar too, and all the young people. Thanks to Rajiv and Himanshu in the background doing lots of work and putting PowerPoints together. Thanks to the Pratyek team.
I want to thank everyone for joining the meeting, and I also want to thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your support, and special thanks to Brother Steve for his help and support to this program. And as Brother have mentioned, thanks to everybody. So, what do you to say? Special
Thank you,
thanks to Sandhya.
everyone.
Special thanks to Sandhya to come in yesterday only and to help me out with the script and all.
Thank you for being amazing co-host.
There was a question about how to engage with COP27. There is a website of COP27 available. Just type in COP27, you can go to that platform, and there may be some platforms that are hybrid, happening on ground and online, which you can take part in. But follow the news and get more information on COP27.
Thank you so much, everyone.